Connor wasn't sure if this was a trick or not, but he didn't hold back. Listen, I'm not a fairy, thank God, and I'm not perfect either. I try to be the best person or the best student possible, but every once in a while I slip up. I forget a homework assignment or I fall asleep in my class. My best effort isn't as good as someone else's might be, and no one should have the right to scold or punish me or publicly humiliate me for it, Connor said. Trix knew what the rules were, and she still committed an offense against one of her peers, Rosette said. No one can be perfect, Connor said, and from what I hear, the guy had it coming. Where's his trial? Why isn't he here? Why do I always get detention for sleeping when it's ancient Mesopotamia that should be punished for being so boring? The council continued to be outraged by this outburst. Many members didn't want to tolerate it and tried to leave. I hear what the child is saying, Esmeralda said. But we can't just pardon Trix. We're the Fairy Council. It wouldn't send a good message to the rest of the kingdom, Tangerina said. Look, Orange Lady, Connor said, in the last week, my sister and I have almost been eaten by a witch, narrowly missed being attacked by a pack of wolves, were almost killed by a possessive bridge troll, survived a burning castle, and barely escaped a life of enslavement in the troll and goblin territory. If you ask me, you've got bigger problems than a fairy turning a jerk's wings into leaves. Looks to me like you busy yourself with stupid little things so you feel like you're doing something, when in reality, you can't handle what's really going on out there. The council went silent, and all the members appeared to become very concerned. Enslavement? Skyline asked. You mean the trolls and goblins are still kidnapping and enslaving people? Yes, Connor said. There were dozens of us down there. We really could have used your help, but I guess you were too busy slapping fairies' wrists for playing pranks on one another. Although they held their stoic expressions, the council was secretly ashamed of themselves. Connor was right. They eyed one another for a moment before Esmeralda broke the silence. On behalf of this council, I hereby forgive Trix for her crimes, Esmeralda said. Xanthos, Skyline, and Tangerina, I say we pay a visit to the Troll and Goblin King immediately. And furthermore, let this be a lesson to all of us. Xanthos, Skyline, and Tangerina nodded and disappeared into thin air with a pop. Thank you, Mr. Esmeralda said. Wishington, Connor said. Connor Wishington. Esmeralda smiled and then disappeared with the others. Trix flew up to Connor's face and gave him a huge hug. That's the bravest and nicest thing anyone has ever done for me, Trix said. Connor looked back at his sister. She was beaming with pride. She was so proud of her brother. It was a look Connor rarely got to see. You know, helping a fairy isn't going to take away any unhappy memories from school, Alex told him when she joined Connor and Trix near the podiums. Connor slyly grinned. I had to say something. I would have regretted it if I hadn't. The remaining fairy council fairies began to leave. Some simply walked off, and others disappeared into thin air, leaving behind sparks or bubbles as they went. Coral was searching the room for something and patting her lap as she went. Here, Fisher. Where are you, Fisher? Coral said. A fish with 4 legs ran past Alex and Connor and jumped up into Coral's arms. There you are, Coral said. It's just about time for your lunch. Alex and Connor looked at each other, confused, each wondering if the other had just seen it too. Is that what I think it is? Connor asked. I think so, Alex said. Coral was just about to leave when the twins stopped her. Excuse me, Alex said. Where did you get your fish? Oh, Fisher? Coral said. I dropped a wand in a lake once and granted him a wish after he swam down and got it for me. He wished for legs, silly thing, so he could play with some boy who lived in a village nearby. The boy ended up dying sadly. So Fisher came to live with me. Coral's wings began to flap and she flew away with her pet fish. So that was what we thought it was, Connor said. Yes, said Alex, her head spinning with questions. That was the walking fish from Dad's stories. Chapter 13, A Wolf Pact. There was blood everywhere. White feathers and bits of wood covered the ground. A driver had been transporting a cart full of geese into the northern kingdom when the big bad wolf pack attacked. The only thing that remained in one piece was the green floppy hat that the driver had been wearing. The wolves were spread out under the trees, chewing on the bones of their victims. Malumclaw jerked his head up and stared into the trees. Someone was coming. He could smell them. Whoever this person was, their scent made him anxious. We've got company, Malumclaw growled. All the wolves jumped to their feet, ready to attack again if they had to. But they were no match for who was approaching. A dark, hooded figure slowly moved through the trees and up to the wolves. It stood fearlessly in front of them for a moment before unveiling itself. Hello, Malumclaw, said the evil queen. Who are you? Malumclaw barked. The woman before him, less than half his size, was making the hairs on the back of his neck stand up. You don't know me, but you know of me, the evil queen said. Everyone does. It's the evil queen, a wolf snarled. Malumclaw began shifting his weight on his front paws. He was intimidated, and he didn't like it. You have a lot of nerve approaching my pack, he said. I should have one of my wolves rip your throat out. I dare you, the evil queen said. There wasn't an ounce of fear in her body. She walked closer to them, and the wolves cowered back, Malumclaw included. What do you want from us? He demanded. I've come to make a deal, she said. We don't make deals, Malumclaw growled. You will once you know what I have to offer, the evil queen said. This intrigued the wolves. What kind of deal? He asked. A trade, the evil queen said. There are 2 children traveling the kingdom, 1 boy and 1 girl. Twins. I want you to find them and bring them to me, unscathed. You want children? Malumclaw mocked. They have several things, actually, that I need, the evil queen said. I would do it myself, but I'm indisposed at the moment. And if we bring them to you, what will you give us in return? He asked. When you bring them to me, I shall give you the one thing you want more than anything else in the world, the evil queen said. Malumclaw laughed. Wolves want for nothing, he said. The evil queen stared at him as if she were looking into his soul. Is that so? She said. Then why do you and your pack crusade around the lands, terrorizing everything in your path? What are you trying to prove? Whose revenge are you seeking? Malumclaw was silent. He couldn't deny it. I will give you the one thing that will avenge your father's death wholly, the evil queen said. I will give you Queen Red Riding Hood in exchange for the twins. All the wolves, including Malumclaw, growled their doubts, but the idea was intriguing to them. And how could you possibly do that? He said. The evil queen looked at him so sternly that his heart began to race. Do not question me. I will have the young queen in my possession by the end of this week. Bring me the children, and I will hand her over to you. Do we have a deal or not? Malumclaw looked at the frightened members of his pack. They nodded at him. They didn't want to upset the queen. Deal, Malumclaw said. But let me warn you, if you fail to keep your end of the bargain, we'll snap your neck like a twig.